Hi, this is Brett Lonsdale, and I'm here with Sandy. How are you doing, Sandy?
Very good, thanks. How are you? I
I'm
see you're
doing
in a
great.
new space.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We moved home last weekend, so we've been here almost a week already.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
so yeah, we moved a total of 2 miles from the village of Showell to the village of Swinford in Leicestershire here in
Mm.
England. So yeah. Yeah, but it's great. We have a home that we can call it as. So yeah, it's fantastic.
That's awesome. And for anybody who's watching who hasn't been to English villages in the countryside, you're missing something because I think they're so cool and they're so close to each other and separate little villages that you can actually walk in between. And
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, this village is slightly bigger. There's a school in this village, which my kids go to. So yeah, the previous village there was only a restaurant. Now we have a pub, we have a church, and we have a school. So yeah,
awesome.
there we
What more do you need, really?
exactly.
A shop,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. The church is always useful after the pub, but
Uh,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. There we go. Cool. So and yeah, you're there in sunny Florida.
yes, yes. Still sunny, still Florida.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah,
raining every day, as you said.
yeah, at exactly 3:30.
Yeah.
Right.
Although not as
Fantastic.
hot as a lot of parts of the country, actually, at this point. It's been surprising how, I've seen that our temperatures are in here in the subtropics are cooler than the middle of the US, even
Well,
Toronto.
I mean, having lived in Florida, I recognize that as well. It's in the middle of the summer. It's actually, yeah, like New York will be hotter
Mm,
than
mm,
Florida.
mm.
But you still get that humidity, don't you,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Florida, which
yeah.
well, I guess you still get that in some of the states across the
Mm,
East Coast. But yeah, it's where winter or in winter where Florida comes into its own. I mean,
that's true.
that's when it's still warm.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Fantastic. So I know you've been excited about this episode coming up and
Yeah.
talking about some of the new releases that we're going to start to see from Microsoft in Wave 2.
Right.
So you know, what in there, Sandy, sort of really stands out to you? Um,
Yeah, sure. So maybe to begin with, yeah, we're looking at so twice a year, Microsoft puts out a Wave release plan for Power Platform and business applications, and I don't know that they do a similar thing really for like SharePoint and Teams. They've got their roadmaps, but they're constantly going through. I don't know that there's a document that comes out twice a year for that, but that's what they do with Power Platform. And so they've just recently released the Wave 2 2022 Power Platform release plan. And what that means is these are things that are planned for release between this coming October and next March. So it's
mhm.
not things that are out now or that are coming really soon, but
Imminently, yeah.
yeah, beginning in October. So some of the things that they announce, generally speaking, in these release plans may be quite different by the time they actually see the light of day, or they might get pushed out. So they keep on, they put lots of caveats in there, like this is still part of the plan and things might change with no notice and things like that. But still, it's a good place to see what is coming. And then what a lot of people in Power Platform community do is, comb through those release plan notes and give feedback to Microsoft, like, this looks like it'll be good, or have you thought about, this or that in this particular feature? And because there is still time
For change.
theoretically
Yeah.
to make some changes, or sometimes I've seen where maybe they'll put it off then when they realize there's a bunch of feedback that they really need to deal with or something on a particular feature. But yeah, there were a couple things, my um, special focus, maybe I guess I would say, in Power Platform is Power Automate, really. And so there are things in there that I was especially interested in that I wanted to just mention. One is having to do with Power Automate Desktop, which
Yeah.
if people don't know, that is now automatically included with Windows 11. So it's not something you need to buy, which it was initially. And what that what Power Automate Desktop generally lets you do is automate things as it sounds on your desktop. So like you could automate things having to do with Excel files that are saved on your computer, or things having to do with legacy systems where there are apps that run on your computer. So anything that runs on your computer. But also you can do things like website scraping and get and log into websites and things like that. But you can't, without an extra license, you can't integrate with cloud flows with all of the different steps and integrations that cloud flows have, Power Automate cloud flows. But coming in this wave of release plan, and I think, yeah, it was toward the end, so they're saying by March, they're going to have their first cloud flow connector in Power Automate Desktop, and it's going to be SharePoint, which I'm pretty excited about, being a SharePoint person.
Yeah.
And so what that could mean is that you'd be able to automate things like downloading files from a SharePoint document library at intervals, or uploading, or doing different things having to do with document libraries. Also list items. So you might maybe get something from a website and update it to a SharePoint list item or something like that using Power Automate Desktop rather than a cloud flow, because cloud flows don't have a way of accessing really your desktop, nor like websites, like random websites other than Microsoft 365. And I don't think, I don't know if it mentioned, I don't think it mentioned really in the release notes about cost, but from what I understand, that SharePoint, at least the SharePoint Cloud Connector, will be included with the free Power Automate Desktop, so, which is really good news too.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, that just sounds so powerful to me. Not
Yes.
not just with the SharePoint thing, but
Mm.
yeah, the fact that you'll be able to use that hopefully with other things as well, because
Mhm.
yeah, there is of course that disconnect with everything that is on your file system. I know, you've got that OneDrive sync and
Mm.
so on, which is one thing that
Mhm.
can sometimes be a pain, I think, as
Yes,
well.
yes, yes. I'm
Especially when,
currently in pain mode on my OneDrive
okay,
sync.
yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a fairly powerful laptop, and when OneDrive starts syncing, it's like, why is my computer just not doing anything? And yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's OneDrive just, and when you realize you just have to pause that sync, it's like, yeah, pause
Mhm.
it for 8 hours or whatever.
Right, right.
Carry on later, and then of course you hit that again like 8 hours later on.
Mm.
But yeah, just the amount of stuff that you might download,
Mhm.
um, that'd be great as well, because the downloads folder, I mean, just gets full up, doesn't it?
Mm.
So just being able to route some of that
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
SharePoint would be
Yep.
absolutely awesome. I
Yep.
mean, even if you did it on file type or something,
Mhm.
I download a lot of images or videos or what have you, and have those
Mm.
go to different
Mm.
folders inside SharePoint.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic. And of course, there you've got the benefit of all that document management,
Right.
versioning, and
Right.
search and
Exactly. Yep.
what have you at that
Yep.
point. So
Yep.
very cool. That sounds great. And sharing as well. Just to
Yeah.
mention that one. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, of course, the things that you do download, the amount of time people reach out to me is like, have you got a copy of this? It's like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's on my desktop. If
Mhm. Mhm.
that was out
Mm.
there, yeah, being
Mm.
shared with people, that would be
Mhm.
really, really
Mhm.
powerful.
Mm. That's a good thought, actually. I'll have to think
Great.
about that one. Cool.
Excellent. And so yeah, that's Power Automate, and obviously you get involved in Power Apps a lot as well
Mm.
on the back of that. So
Yeah, the Power Apps section of this release plan, I think I didn't see a whole lot in there that I was super excited about, but there are updates and there are changes to what was Power Apps portals and now is Power Pages. I think that's kind of a big part of it, is those kind of changes, and also to model-driven apps, which are work with Dataverse and Dynamics 365, which um, I'm afraid I didn't look super closely at those updates either. I think there are some things around the design. There are new features that came out recently, like being able to create a Power App off of design that you build like in Figma or something like that, and kind of feed that into Power Apps, and then it creates an app. So I think there'll be further development on that, on stuff that's already there, and making formulas easier, and the AI design ideas and stuff like that. But I didn't see a huge amount super new in that
Yeah,
area.
sure. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, the Power Pages,
Mm.
that does sound something exciting, worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's the
yeah,
mainly for external users. Yeah, so that you can build kind of a external facing Power App essentially,
yeah,
that your customers can log into and see their information and so on. Because regular Power Apps, um, generally speaking, you've got to do a lot of setup to get that to be able to be used business to business. Really, it's meant to be internal more.
yeah. But I mean that's huge as well. And
Mm,
when you look at the things like the Heathrow Airport
mm,
example, where that took I forget his name. I don't know if you you recall it.
Summit.
Yeah, it's a
Mm,
Summit. So yeah, working in security, he was
mm,
actually the equivalent of your sort of TSA in the US, and yeah, just the fact that he started dabbling with
right.
Power Apps and finding his way through the learning material that
Mm,
Microsoft offers, building his first Power App, and realizing how much that could impact Heathrow Airport,
right.
and yeah, it's just incredible some of the apps that they've created and how many resources they've saved, not necessarily just people, but paper and so on. I
Mm,
mean,
mm-hmm,
you were talking a huge amount of paper that was going to be saved,
mm-hmm.
yeah, every year by introducing some of these apps. And of course, a lot of that is customer feedback. So
Mm-hmm.
filling out surveys. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that was a paper-based thing. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's just an external form
Mm-hmm.
driven through I guess what was the Power Apps portal, but
Mm-hmm.
now
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Power Pages
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So yeah, it can have a huge impact
Yep.
for an organization to
Yep.
do all of that stuff. That's
Definitely. Yep. Definitely. There were some nice updates mentioned for cloud flows too. So Power Automate, not desktop, but the cloud flows, and a lot of that is UI changes that are coming. Some of those are currently available if you switch over to experimental mode, but there are like things about the a larger expression builder, which people have been griping about for a long time, where you got just a single little line and you had to scroll across to see your whole formula. But now you'll have, and you can have right now if you switch to experimental mode, but you can put line breaks in your expressions and make them, you know, it's supposed to be low code, of course, so you're not supposed to be writing code there, but still, some of the expressions can get pretty hefty, and it's hard to read them when they're just on a single line. So that's good. Um, there are a couple changes that I hope that they do make to that before that becomes built in. Like in the current experimental expression editor, you can't you can no longer get to the categories of expressions or of functions, which I think
hmm
is really helpful, especially for somebody starting out. Like it's still true if you start typing the name of a function, then you get a tooltip, and it shows you what you're supposed to put in and everything, and there's a link to get to the reference guide for all of the functions. But if you don't know what you're trying to do, I mean, you know what you're trying to do, but you don't know what the word is.
hmm
It's helpful the way it is right now, where there are categories of functions and you can go through them and see there's a little description, and you can see, oh yeah, that's the one I want to do. So, and then you pick that. But anyway, so hopefully they'll make a little bit of change to that before that gets public. But also, they're updating the OData filter editor. That's another really good one, because as it is now, if you want to filter items, like where this comes in really common is if you're getting items from a SharePoint list, for example, um, and you probably don't want to get all of the items. You probably want to pre-filter that before it comes into Power Automate. And right now you have to know what the OData filter syntax would be, like the
hmm
name of the field, and then EQ or LE for, and then little single quotes and stuff like that. But nobody knows that.
And that's where it gets into the more low code than no code, I guess.
Yes,
And and
exactly.
there's the learning curve.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So now, and this is also available in experimental right now too. So you can look at that. There's an more of a wizardy thing or a configuration dialog where you just push buttons and choose things, and that makes it a lot easier. So that'll be coming
fantastic.
to general availability. Yeah.
That sounds great. Absolutely. So I mean, one of the things that I was kind of excited to see, and this whole space excites me actually around Viva.
Mm,
Um, so I know Microsoft Inspire this week as well. There's been some announcements about Viva. So some, well, we knew Viva Goals was coming. I think
right.
mentioned
We
that last
talked about
week.
that last
Yeah.
time. Yep.
But yeah, there's also Viva Engage, which
Hmm.
yeah, I've not been able to see too much about it at the moment. There are some comments about it, being effectively Yammer, but that makes
Mm,
sense.
yeah.
When you look at this whole uh, space that Microsoft is investing in, I think it's really, really powerful. All the tools that they've created in the past are, of course, around sort of office work and yeah, producing content, and then collaborating on content in applications such as Teams and SharePoint and what have
Mm,
you. But now they're entering this space where they actually care about the people that work for these
right.
organizations, and I
Right.
think that's such an important step because it got highlighted in the pandemic,
Mm,
especially where people are working from home and lonely as well.
mm,
It is a lonely place when you're not
mm,
engaging with other people, and
mm,
just to be able to have that engagement somehow through things like Yammer
right.
or Viva Engage,
Mm,
or go to a sort of virtual town hall and
mm,
use topics and connect and so
mm,
on. You are actually feeling like you belong to an entity
yeah.
as opposed to just sat in your bedroom or what
Hmm.
have you,
Hmm.
and working for that organization. So
Mm,
I think there's some great steps there, and working with goals especially is really important. So I think being able to drive people to improve themselves through the setting of goals is really important, and it's not just a case of goals being a task,
mm,
and I think there's a huge separator. It's something I read in a book recently
mm.
about that differentiator of a goal versus a task.
Uh,
Some people set a goal that is just totally achievable,
mm.
and it's like, well, that's not really a goal because
uh,
it's just something that you had to do. Whereas if you create a goal, it's something that you strive for, and you
mm,
shouldn't yet know how you're going to do
mm,
it. So it should really
mm,
stretch you in order to be
mhm,
able to achieve that. And
mm,
it's maybe something that you don't or you've been wanting to resolve for quite some time. It may be
mm,
something personal, it may be something to do with the business, and I can see this actually being really exciting to use, even for personal goals inside of the business, if that makes
mm,
sense. So through employee development meetings and one-to-ones, just that shift in somebody's well-being and sense of achievement, if they can achieve a goal, even if it's a personal goal such as
mm,
losing weight or something like
mhm,
that, you do become somebody else in order to actually be
mm,
able to achieve it. And
mm,
I think that is something that could be encouraged through managers to set those goals for the employees, because it might be benefiting them as a personal thing, but that mind shift really does carry forward to other things in the business as well. If you
mm,
achieve that weight loss goal or that fitness goal or whatever it might
mm,
be, the way that you're thinking about how you work every day and how you turn
mm,
up is also so important.
mm,
So I think the exciting thing there is, of course, Viva goals, but also being able to measure that and have that integrate with Power BI as well,
uh,
so you can see how well your
mm,
company is achieving these goals.
uh-huh.
I think that would be a really powerful integration. So
Yeah,
excited
cool.
to see that.
Very good.
Absolutely. So great. Dataverse. Is there
Mm.
much around sort of Dataverse that grabbed your
Uh,
attention there?
Yeah, I didn't actually read the business applications release notes yet, but um, I think just deeper integration, more kind of built-in integration with both Power Automate and Power Apps is continuing to come along. Just things that you can do with Dataverse, and then, I mean, then there's the whole Dataverse in Teams, which is a way that you can use sort of a. I mean, that's been around now for probably a year, more than a year, I think more than a year probably, but continuing to build on that and making it easier to build tables and not have to necessarily understand all the little nitty gritty about how Dataverse used to be. I think it's becoming more user friendly than it had been. um,
Good.
to things that people will actually understand and be able to use, and then being able to integrate all of that into your yeah, your flows and your apps.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Fantastic. Um, the whole sort of Power Platform experience as far as ISVs is something that
Mm,
I'd kind of like to keep an eye on as well.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So of course in the Microsoft SharePoint world, even dating back to SharePoint 2007, the ecosystem around SharePoint has just been incredible.
mm,
There's some of the very early companies like AvePoint and so on, you're creating backup tools and what have you, but
mm-hmm,
also
mm-hmm,
through web parts. There's Bamboo as one of the early companies there producing web parts that would extend the capabilities of SharePoint and monetizing those products. And that early story wasn't great in terms of delivering those components to the Microsoft SharePoint
mm-hmm,
platform. So when we started to see, an app store that was originally created for the add-ins,
mm-hmm,
the add-in model, and then that came app source for other things as well, not just SharePoint, but Azure and what have you too.
mm-hmm,
I think that's great that Microsoft is investing in that area for the Power Platform too. And of course,
mm-hmm,
for Dynamics, that's as you mentioned, that's been there for quite some time.
mm-hmm.
But it'd be exciting to see how ISVs may also be able to add components that may improve some of these other products that we're seeing too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
and
mean, it's also been for a while, I think that people can create, for example, Power BI visualizations that you can go download from the app source and purchase in many cases. So there's lots of um, visualizations that are kind of more off the beaten track, I guess, but things that your organization might especially need. Fairly recently, there's been in Power Automate, well, I guess which also applies to Power Apps, Microsoft has opened up the connectors field to
mhm.
pretty much anybody, and so you'll see now that there are many more hundreds of connectors available because you can develop your own and get that put up into the connectors, which isn't even a store really, but and be able to use those. I mean, some are premium and some are not, but but yeah, that's also a really good space for that. But then on the other end, so those are kind of, I would say, maybe similar to how the SharePoint ISVs work, where you're kind of providing something that isn't already there.
Mhm.
But also in Power Platform, you can, well, I guess also with SharePoint, you can, on the other side, provide things that use the tools to build like a full application or build something and then provide that something that uses Power Platform as its underpinnings.
Yeah, yeah, that does sound pretty powerful,
Mhm.
I gotta say. So fantastic. Great. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of this information
Yeah,
is available
yeah. I'll put a
in the
link in
Microsoft
the
Docs. So
description. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great. And
Yeah, because
yeah,
there are
as
pages and pages.
absolutely. But as these things do get released, they do get launched. We will be
Hmm.
talking about them in a bit more
Yep.
depth and maybe
Right.
even demoing them as well. So
Right. Yeah. Once we can see them. Yep. Sounds
sounds
good.
good.
All
All right.
right. Thanks.
Well, good to
And
catch up with you.
yep, same.
And
I'll see you next
s-
time.
absolutely. Thanks
All
everybody.
right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.